to figure out how in the world do I help this individual see what they can't see. What we have a tendency to do is not do what Jesus did. Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What we say is, Father, I need you to forgive me for what I'm about to do. See, but the cross ethic takes the lacerations, says, man, they don't know. They don't know. How can I help them to see the way of righteousness? But we're not interested in righteousness in the moments. I'm only interested in dealing with this person who just messed with my spirit. So we don't say, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. Father, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Because I'm going to get them because they got me. And everybody in here got God. And he ain't trying to get you. He's trying to save you. He can get everybody in here and be justified in getting them. But he's not trying to get you. He's trying to save you. What are you saying, Paul? There is an impending threat in this document. They need to be warned, because this impending devilish threat could take them captive and remove them from the faith of Christ and from the love that they have for. If you allow something other than Jesus to begin to manipulate and to control your mind, it's going to disrupt this community. You have to be okay. You got to be okay. Disposition yourself with the compassion of Jesus, with the kindness of Jesus, with the humility of Jesus, with the patience of Jesus. Jesus needs to be your governing principle. Whatever you do, you let the rule of God's peace be the deciding factor of how you act. Even when you have to carry out righteous indignation, don't let righteous indignation be carried out through hate. Don't let it come out. Get rid of violence. And even when I have to judge on behalf of Jesus, even let that be done out of love. Even let that be done out of peace. Even let that be done out of compassion. Every aspect of my life needs to be governed by the Christ, the cross, and his peace. Now, let me be careful to know. This ain't the same stuff that you do in families. You know your nephew off. He been off for a long time, but you don't want him to get angry. You know, and she been off for a long time, but you don't want him to get angry. No, you want to avoid hurt. You want to avoid hurt. Because just as soon as you tell him or her, you can't come in here, that's going to strike at your heart. And that's going to hurt. That's a scar of Calvary that you need to endure so that he may feel the pain of detachment from you while you feel the pain of Calvary with Jesus. Don't be afraid of hurt if it's a cross hurt. You're not trying to hurt feelings. Don't do anybody any favors. I'm not saying be mean. I'm saying let the peace of God. Sometimes you got to say, woe to you, scribe. Always governed by the peace of Jesus. Because what I'm ultimately after is bringing you to reconciliation. And I can't reconcile you if I don't help you see you sick. God's love, his mercy, his compassion, his unity. He wants to have free course in the life of Christians and his community. He wants the world filled with his glory, his unity, his peace, his hope, his chosen. Don't take on the right mindset that's hindered. God will not penetrate through hearts that's not receptive to his movement. And the only way his power is going to move through a community is when that community is receptive to the way he does it. Keeps God's peace from being extended throughout the parameters of their life and anybody else's. Man, I hope I'm making sense. So what does he tell this community that's that's about to face this danger? And I got to hurry and go. I wanted to give you just a few things. I didn't get them. But I want you to think with me on something. And I got to give you this before we close. We began to look internally to find answers. I want to help you see something, just a few things. Give me Ecclesiastes 7:20, please, real quick. I want you to note something. There is not a righteous man on earth who continually does good and never sins. I want you to see this. I'm going somewhere with this thought. What's my premise? When we begin to make decisions about how we're going to respond to anything, about when we're going to communicate anything, I want us to realize something real quick. There is not a righteous man on the earth who continually does good who never sins. I'm going somewhere with my thought. Let me have 1 Kings 8:46. When they sin, this is it. When they sin against you, for there is no man who does not sin. Remember Ecclesiastes 7:20. There is not a man I know that nothing good dwells in me, that is in my flesh. For the willing is present in me, but the doing good is not. Now, what I want to do with all this. There is not a man on earth who always does good and never sins. Not one. Paul would say, listen, as he's struggling with the law-keeping aspect versus the grace aspect, he said, listen, I'm going to tell you what keeps me from always doing those things that I should do. It's because there is nothing good in me. For the willing is present in me. I want to do right, but it just ain't there. I want you to capture this. When I use myself as the standard. Why? Because there is nothing good in me. I don't always do what's right. I don't always do what's good. Sometimes I do mess up. Why? Because ain't nothing good in me. So when I use myself as the standard of operation, I am subject to mess up and mess up frequently. It ain't about what I think. Take me back to Colossians 2 real quick. Take me back to Colossians 2 real quick. I'm almost done. He says in chapter number 2, he says in verse number 1, he says, listen, I'll read, we getting there. For I want you to know how great a struggle I have on behalf for those who are in Laodicea and for all those who have not personally seen my face, that their hearts may be encouraged, having been knit together in love and attaining to all the wealth that comes from the full assurance of understanding, resulting in a true knowledge of God's mystery, that is Christ himself. Listen, he says, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. I want you to note this. Where does Paul communicate that all of the wealth, the wisdom, and understanding resides? It's not in you and I, it's in him. Go back to chapter 1, verse 21. Listen to what he says. And although you were formerly alienated and hostile in mind, engaged in evil deeds, yet now he has reconciled you in the body of his flesh through death, in order to present you before him holy and blameless and beyond reproach. Listen to the text. How in the world does God fix my evil? How does he fix my mind? How does he fix my dead condition? He has to put me in another place. He has to put me in the fleshly body of Jesus. He can't leave me in myself. Why? Because I'm sick. Ain't nothing good in me. But everything is good in him. That's why he put me there. Not only has he put me there, he's put all wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in him, not me. So when I begin, practical section, back to chapter number 3. So listen, chapter 2, you were dead. You are dead. The only reason you living is because you've been able to take part in the circumcision of Jesus. That's it. That's it. Ain't nothing good in you. You dead. The only reason you living is because God has circumcised you, put you in Jesus, and nailed your sin to the cross. That's the only reason you should have joy and be thankful. And because of this, he said, this is what you need to do. You need to always let your mind be set on things of the earth. What governs me? Thoughts of heaven or thoughts of me? What dictates what I say? When my vocabulary is full of 4-letter words, who's really governing my thoughts and my thinking? Is it heaven or hell? The 4-letter word we need to be trying to avoid is hell. And if we avoid that one, we'll get rid of all the other ones too. So as he builds on this case, I got to go. I got to quit. In dealing with this newfound identity, as he addresses the impending threats within this community, threats that can take them away from Jesus, threats miss the heavenly calling, threats that can cause them to be unfruitful. What do you say? You chosen. You chosen. So act like you're chosen. Act like you're chosen. What I need you to do is let the peace of Christ be your governing principle. I need Christ's peace to be your governing principle. What is the peace and the rest from Christ's perspective? I'm always considerate of how I can help the violator get victory. I'm not interested in being my own victor. I can't be. I'm sick. But how can I help the violator get to the one that needs the victorious one? And sometimes that's going to hurt. But he said, you're called for this purpose. And be thankful. You were called for this purpose. Y'all remember Peter and John in Acts 5 when they were beaten for preaching gospel? Y'all remember what they went away doing? Rejoicing that they were able to suffer with Jesus. You know, I realize when you take a scar for Jesus, you can actually be thankful. But you know what's going to be even more beautiful? When we take them scars for Jesus and stop being passive, weak Christians. When people really start coming to Jesus because we've chosen to stand with Jesus, you know how much more joy that's going to bring. All of heaven shouted when one sinner repented. Y'all know the story, Luke 15. Do y'all not realize when you let people go and let them have their way with the pigs, that true, genuine people will actually get tired of eating pig slop and they want to come back home and eat the fatted calf with the saints of God? Let the peace rule. He says, listen, and I'm done. Let the word of Christ richly dwell in you with all wisdom and teaching, he says, and admonishing one another, warning one another with psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with thankfulness in your heart to God. Even, or whether it be deed, make sure it's approved by Jesus. Make sure it's approved by Jesus. No, I'm going to let you go now. I said that a few times. So as I do life in Jesus, I'm in pursuit of peace with God and with others. And I got to do it the way Jesus did it. I got to do it the way he did it. He wants a world that is controlled by his glory, his love, his mercy, his peace, his unity. But the chosen ones got to be properly dispositioned so that he can bring that to reality. So as I live this life, am I controlled by the peace of Christ or by the peace of me? Who governs me? Jesus or me? Over our lives. In the final days of his earthly experience, he met for one last time at a Passover with his disciples. And he said to them, this is the Passover I've been waiting for. This is the one I've longed to have, this one. Passover is about deliverance, about a new day, about a new life, about deliverance. We come together today to not only talk about Jesus, but primarily to sit at his table and have this meal with him, because in him we are free. In him we have peace. We can sit at God's table and know we sit in an honorable seat that in which we're not supposed to be. So as we eat of this meal and sit at his table, may we look to the head of the table and be thankful, because you're not supposed to be sitting here, neither am I. The great creator